My name is Brooke Kensington. I'm 35 years old. And for 2 years, I thought I was living inside a slow burn love story that just hadn't reached the part where someone finally said the right thing. Because that's what it felt like with Miles Davenport. Not a crush, not a fling, a routine, a rhythm. Coffee every Tuesday at the same shop with the scratched wooden booths. Horror movies on Friday nights. Bad ones, on purpose, because we liked yelling at the screen and pretending we were above it. Random texts throughout the day about nothing and everything. Photos of weird signs in the city. Voice notes when one of us had a bad day. He'd send me songs. I'd send him memes. It was intimate in all the quiet ways people don't call intimate. And maybe that was the problem. It was easy to mistake comfort for commitment. We met at a mutual friend's game night. Mark's, of course. Mark collected people like souvenirs. The night I walked in, Miles was already there, laughing too loud, leaning back in his chair like he owned the air around him. He offered me the seat next to him like it mattered. We bonded over terrible horror movies and obscure indie music, and after that it was like we just kept happening, like a series that never got canceled. For a long time I told myself, don't ruin it. Don't make it weird. Don't be the girl who confuses kindness for something more. But then there were the little things. The way he'd touch my wrist when he wanted me to listen. The way he'd look at me when I laughed, like he'd done something right. The way he'd text me first thing in the morning with some observation about his day, as if my attention was the first cup of coffee he needed. I thought the signs were there, or maybe I just wanted them to be. 3 weeks ago, I finally cracked. We were at our usual coffee shop in our usual corner booth, the one we'd claimed after about 6 months like it was property. Miles was mid-rant about drama at his office, waving his hands like he was conducting an orchestra of frustration. And I wasn't listening, because my heart was pounding so hard I could feel it in my throat. "Miles," I blurted. He paused, eyebrows lifting. "What's up?" I stared at my cup like it could save me. Then I forced my eyes up to his. "I have feelings for you," I said. "Not friend feelings. More than that. I've had them for a while." The world didn't explode. No one screamed. The espresso machine hissed in the background like it was trying to cover for me. Miles's face did this complicated sequence of expressions I couldn't decode fast enough. Surprise, like he hadn't seen it coming. Concern, like he didn't want to hurt me. And then something that landed like a weight. Pity. "Brooke," he started, and even the way he said my name sounded different. Softer. Careful. He set his cup down, fingers tightening around it. "Can I think about this?" Every part of me wanted to beg, to bargain, to act like I hadn't just set fire to the room. So I nodded like I was calm. "Yeah," I said, "of course. Take all the time you need." We finished our coffee in slightly awkward silence, like two people trying not to step on broken glass. We hugged goodbye outside, but it wasn't the same. His arms felt cautious, like he was measuring distance. That night he texted, "Hey, can we talk tomorrow?" I said yes. Then I didn't sleep. I replayed everything for hours. Every smile, every inside joke, every late-night conversation, trying to decide whether I'd misread him or whether he'd been sending signals he didn't realize he was sending. The next day he called instead of texting. I was at work. I stepped outside, the air cold enough to make my lungs sting. "No small talk. I've been thinking about what you said," he began. My stomach dropped. "You're really amazing, Brooke," he said, and I could hear him choosing every word like it was a knife he didn't want to hold wrong. "You're kind. You're funny. I love spending time with you, and I don't want to lose what we have." I closed my eyes. "But," he continued, "I don't see you as girlfriend material. I think we're better as friends." It was like someone dumped ice water down my spine. I swallowed. "Okay." He rushed on, like speed could soften impact. "I hope this doesn't make things weird. I really value our friendship." "Yeah," I said, voice too steady. "It won't make things weird." It was a lie so clean I almost believed it. We hung up, and I stood there for a full minute staring at nothing, hearing the echo of his words in my head. Girlfriend material. Like I was a product. Like he'd held me up under fluorescent light, checked my label, and put me back on the shelf. I went back inside and tried to focus on work. Failed completely. I went home early, sat on my couch, and just processed. That evening, he texted again. "You're amazing, but I don't see you as girlfriend material." As if saying it twice would make it gentler. As if writing it down would make it final enough that I couldn't pretend I'd imagined it. I stared at the text for a long time. Then I typed, "Fair enough." And something shifted inside me. Not rage, not revenge. Clarity. He didn't see me as girlfriend material. Fine. Then I stopped treating him like he was boyfriend material. From that day on, everything changed. The following Tuesday morning, he texted like nothing happened. Coffee later? Normally, I would have said yes before he even finished typing. Instead, I wrote, can't today, busy. He called Thursday, new horror movie Friday night? I looked at the message, at the familiar comfort of it, and felt something cold settle in. I've got plans, maybe another time. Sunday afternoon, he sent me a meme, one we would have laughed about for 10 minutes straight. I hit like, didn't comment. By the end of the week, he sent, is everything okay? Then another, did I do something? Then another, I feel like you're avoiding me. I answered one, yeah, just busy, hope you're good. The truth was, I wasn't that busy. I was just done. Done investing emotional energy into someone who could take all of me in friendship-sized pieces, then act shocked when I wanted something whole. Done being available whenever he needed company, validation, attention, while making it clear I'd never be more. And the strangest part? I didn't feel as broken as I thought I would. I felt quiet, like the constant background noise of hoping had finally switched off. So I did the one thing I'd been putting off for months. I went to the gym. Not as punishment, not as a glow-up plan, as a place to put all that leftover energy, somewhere it couldn't circle back into my chest and rot. That Tuesday, while I was struggling through a set of deadlifts with form I thought was decent, a voice behind me said, calm, direct. You're going to hurt your back if you keep doing it like that. I turned, embarrassed, ready to snap, and saw a man about my age, athletic but not arrogant, watching me with an expression that wasn't judgment, just certainty. Sorry, he added, like he knew the line between help and humiliation. I'm Ryan. I'm not trying to be annoying. Your hips are too high. I should have laughed it off and walked away. But something in me, something that had finally stopped begging for crumbs, looked at this stranger and thought, at least he's honest to my face. I set the bar down, exhaled, and nodded once. Okay, I said, show me. And for the first time in weeks, I felt the tiniest spark of something I hadn't felt in a long time. Not hope for Miles. Hope for me. Ryan didn't touch me when he corrected my form. That sounds like a strange detail to notice, but after 2 years of reading the meaning behind every casual brush of Miles's fingers, after translating every half smile and late night "you up" into a language it was never meant to be, Ryan's restraint felt like respect. He stayed a step back, demonstrated the movement cleanly, and then nodded like it was no big deal. Try again, he said. I did. It felt better immediately. Yeah, Ryan said, approving. That's it. You'll feel it in the right place tomorrow. I laughed, breathless. Great, can't wait to wake up unable to sit. He smiled like he already knew my sense of humor. You'll survive. Want me to show you a stretch that actually helps? It was simple, straightforward, no guessing games. And somehow that scared me more than Miles ever had. Because if Ryan was this easy, then what had I been doing for 2 years? Twisting myself into knots for someone who could look me in the eye and say I wasn't girlfriend material? We talked for 10 minutes after that. Nothing deep, just light conversation, where we worked, what we liked, the casual kind of getting to know you that didn't pretend to be destiny. When I left, I expected the usual hollow ache to creep back in, the you're not chosen feeling that had become familiar. Instead, I felt clear, like I was standing outside a room I'd been locked in for a long time, realizing the door had never been locked at all. Ryan asked me out 2 days later. Not with some vague, we should hang sometime, that left me holding the emotional labor of scheduling. He just said it. Drink after work Thursday, he asked, leaning against the counter at the gym like it was the easiest thing in the world. I blinked. That's very direct. I'm not a hint guy, he said. I'm a yes or no guy. I should have hesitated. I should have told myself I wasn't ready, that I needed time to heal, or whatever people say when they want you to wait around and prove you're emotionally pure enough to date again. But I kept hearing Miles's voice in my head. You're amazing, but... And I was done living in the but. So I said yes. Thursday night, Ryan and I grabbed a drink at a low-key place with dim lights and no pressure to perform. He made me laugh. He listened when I talked. He didn't look past my shoulder like he was checking for someone better. When I mentioned I'd been having a rough few weeks, he didn't pry. Didn't demand a full timeline of my pain like he was entitled to it. He just nodded once and said, I get it. People can drain you when you let them. The words landed hard because they were true. By the end of the night, I realized something that was both comforting and humiliating. I hadn't once checked my phone to see if Miles had texted. Saturday morning, I woke up to a message from Mark. Mark, party at my place next weekend, you in? Mark always threw the kind of parties that felt like reunions. Game night people, coworkers, plus ones. Hannah organizing snacks like she was running a small event company. I stared at the text longer than I should have. Because Mark's parties were Miles' territory, our group, our history. And I didn't want to avoid my own life just because one man had decided I wasn't worth dating. So I typed, "Me, yeah, I'm in." A minute later, my phone buzzed again. Miles, Mark said you're going. You want to ride together like usual? My chest tightened. There it was. The assumption. The like usual. As if nothing had changed. As if he hadn't taken a scalpel to our dynamic and then expected me to keep bleeding quietly in the corner, so he could still have the comfort of me. I stared at the message, feeling the old instinct rise. Keep it smooth, keep it polite, keep it easy. And then I heard that other voice inside me. Quiet, steady, new. Fair enough. So I replied, "Me. Actually, I'm bringing someone." The typing bubble appeared immediately. Miles, who? I set my phone down, made coffee, let the silence sit. When I finally picked it up again, there were 3 more messages. Miles, I didn't know you were seeing someone. Miles, why didn't you tell me? Miles, Brooke? My pulse stayed strangely calm. Not because I didn't care, because I finally understood something I'd been refusing to accept. Miles didn't want me. He wanted access. He wanted the comfort of me being available, consistent, loyal, and emotionally intimate, without the responsibility of choosing me. And now, for the first time, he was realizing that access could be taken away. I typed one word. Me, friend. And then I didn't respond again. Let him wonder. That night I told Ryan about the party. He didn't act territorial, didn't puff up his chest like he was about to compete. He just asked, "Do you want me to come?" I hesitated, not because I didn't want him there, because I knew exactly what it would mean if he came. It would mean I was done living in limbo. It would mean I was ready to be seen with someone else. Not in secret, not in a soft launch. In public. In front of Miles. "Yes," I said. Ryan smiled, simple and warm. "Cool. What should I wear? Are we talking casual party or impress people you don't care about party?" I laughed. "Casual." "Leather jacket casual?" he teased. I rolled my eyes. "Sure, if you want to look like you're about to start a band." "Perfect," he said. I've always wanted to disappoint my mother. And I realized, again, that this was easy. It shouldn't have felt rare. Saturday night arrived. Ryan picked me up at 7:00. He showed up in dark jeans and a jacket, clean and put together, without looking like he tried too hard. He brought a bottle of wine for Mark and Hannah, like someone who understood basic social grace. As we drove, he glanced at me. "So," he said, "who's going to be there?" "People from an old game night group," I said. "Mark, his girlfriend Hannah, some friends. And the guy." I exhaled. "Yeah, Miles." Ryan didn't ask for the whole story. Didn't demand proof of my pain like he needed to measure how much emotional baggage he was signing up for. He just nodded once. "Is it going to be awkward?" he asked. "It might be," I admitted, "but that's not on me." Ryan's mouth curved into a small smile. "Fair enough." The phrase hit me like a quiet echo. Fair enough. The words I'd texted Miles when he told me I wasn't girlfriend material. And suddenly I understood the power of them. They weren't acceptance. They were a boundary. Mark opened the door when we arrived. The house was already buzzing. Music, laughter, people packed into the living room like they belonged there. Mark did a double take when he saw me with Ryan. "Brooke," he said, stepping forward. His eyes flicked to Ryan. And Ryan stuck out his hand first. "Ryan, thanks for having me." Mark shook it, still processing, then laughed like he was trying to act normal. "Yeah, of course. Come in. Drinks are in the kitchen. Make yourselves at home." We stepped inside, and I saw them. Familiar faces. The old group. The people who had watched Miles and me orbit each other for 2 years, like it was entertainment. Then, near the kitchen entrance, Miles. He was talking to Hannah, holding a drink, relaxed posture, that confident ease he always had in social settings. His face lit up the second he saw me. The same smile he'd given me for 2 years. Automatic, warm, possessive in the quietest way. Then his eyes shifted. He saw Ryan beside me. Saw Ryan lean down to say something close to my ear because the music was loud. Saw me laugh, genuine. Saw Ryan's hand hover at my lower back, not grabbing, not claiming, just guiding me through the crowd like he belonged with me. Miles's smile froze. Not faded. Not softened. Froze. Like someone had paused him mid-expression and left him stranded there. For a second, I felt a flicker of something sharp inside me. Not joy. Not satisfaction. Just a strange, cold realization. So he can feel this. He just never thought he would have to. I nodded at Miles. Polite, minimal, and kept walking toward the kitchen with Ryan. My heart hammered like it wanted to break free. But my steps didn't falter. Ryan glanced at me. "You okay?" I forced a breath. Yeah, I'm good. And I meant it, because for the first time, I wasn't entering that room hoping Miles would finally choose me. I was entering that room having chosen myself. We were in the kitchen for maybe 10 minutes, getting drinks, doing introductions, when Hannah appeared at my side like a storm cloud in a cute outfit. Brooke, she said, voice tight, can I talk to you alone? Ryan looked at me. Silent question. I gave him a small nod. Go mingle, I said. I'll find you in a bit. He squeezed my hand once, quick, reassuring, then stepped away. Hannah led me down the hall and into Mark's office, closing the door behind us like she was about to interrogate me. Her eyes were wide, somewhere between concern and disbelief. What are you doing? She demanded. I blinked. Coming to a party? You brought a date, she hissed. You're seeing someone. Yes, I said calmly. That's correct. It's been like 2 weeks since you told Miles you had feelings for him, Hannah said. And now you're here with someone else. That's fast, and honestly kind of cold. Cold. The word scraped against my skin. Cold would have been sitting at home crying into my pillow while Miles went on living like nothing happened. Cold would have been continuing to show up for him emotionally while he kept me in the friend zone because it was convenient. I crossed my arms steady. Miles told me I'm not girlfriend material, I said. So I'm moving on. Hannah pressed her lips together. He didn't mean to hurt you. I know, I said. He meant to keep me. Her expression flickered. She started, then softened. Miles is really upset. I held her gaze. That's not my problem. Hannah exhaled, frustrated. Brooke, come on. Like what? I asked quietly. Like someone who values herself? Her shoulders dropped a fraction, like she wanted to argue but couldn't find the right place to stab. He thought you'd still be friends, she said. We are, I replied. I'm just not the kind of friend who's available whenever he needs attention, while making it clear I'll never be more. Hannah stared at me. For a second I saw it, the shift. The realization that she'd been watching this for 2 years and calling it normal. That she'd been benefiting from the group staying smooth, comfortable, predictable. And now I was disrupting it. Good. I opened the door. I'm going back out there, I said. If Miles is upset, he can sit with the consequence of his choice, like I did. And when I stepped into the hallway again, I didn't feel guilty. I felt free. I found Ryan near the living room, deep in conversation with Mark about travel. Apparently, they'd both been to Iceland. Of course they had. Mark was animated, gesturing wildly about glaciers and hot springs. Ryan laughed easily, relaxed, like he hadn't just walked into someone else's complicated history and unknowingly become the focal point of it. When he saw me, he lifted his glass in a small salute. Everything okay? I nodded. Yeah, just needed air. He didn't push, just shifted slightly so I was beside him, not behind him, like he understood positioning without making a show of it. The rest of the party passed in a strange blur. I stayed close to Ryan, not clinging, not performative, just natural. We gravitated toward each other because it felt good, because conversation didn't feel like work, because I wasn't constantly checking his tone for hidden meaning. We laughed, we listened, we existed. Miles tried to approach me twice. Both times, I was mid-conversation with someone else. I saw him in my peripheral vision, hovering, waiting for me to break away like I always used to. I didn't. Not to be cruel, to be accurate. I nodded at him, polite acknowledgement, then turned back to whoever I was talking to. The message wasn't aggressive. It was final. You are not the priority anymore. When Ryan and I left, I felt lighter than I had in weeks. Sunday morning, reality tried to hit me like a brick. I woke up to my phone vibrating on the nightstand. Once, twice, again. 17 messages, all from Miles. They started just after midnight and stretched until nearly 3 in the morning, the timestamps getting closer together as his restraint unraveled. I made coffee before reading them. That felt important. I wanted to be awake, grounded, not reading them from a place of emotional vulnerability. The messages were exactly what I'd expected. Miles, we need to talk. Miles, I don't understand why you'd bring a date after everything we talked about. Miles, I thought we were friends. Miles, you're really just moving on like that? Miles, this is so unfair. Miles, everyone kept asking me about you and him. Miles, you made me feel like an idiot. Miles, I thought you cared about me. Miles, this really hurt, Brooke. Miles, can you at least respond? Miles, fine, ignore me. Miles, I can't believe you'd do this. Miles, call me when you're ready to talk like adults. Miles, I'm sorry if I upset you, but this is too much. Miles, please just call me. I scrolled back up, reading them again, not because I needed to understand, but because I wanted to notice what wasn't there. There was no apology, no acknowledgement of what he'd said to me, no ownership of the fact that he'd rejected me and then expected nothing to change. Just a steady stream of his feelings, his confusion, his hurt. Like I was supposed to manage it. I took a sip of coffee. Then I typed, "Me, I do care about you as a friend, the same way you care about me. I'm allowed to date other people. You rejected me." I moved on. His reply came within seconds. "Miles, but it's only been 2 weeks." I didn't hesitate. "Me, 2 weeks since I told you how I felt. 2 years since I started." There was a pause. Then, "Miles, that's not enough time to get over someone." I almost smiled at that. "Me, maybe not for you, but you're not the one who got rejected." "Miles, I didn't reject you. I just didn't feel the same way." My fingers hovered over the screen. Then, "Me, that's literally what rejection is." The typing bubble appeared, disappeared, appeared again. "Miles, this feels different and you know it." "Me, how?" "Miles, you're doing this to hurt me." There it was, the accusation. The rewriting of the narrative where I was suddenly the villain for refusing to stay small and available. I breathed out slowly before replying. "Me, no. I'm doing this because Ryan is great and I enjoy spending time with him. Your feelings about that aren't my responsibility." Silence. No typing bubble, no instant reply. I stared at my phone for a long moment, waiting for the usual spike of anxiety. It didn't come. Instead, there was relief. I spent the rest of Sunday with Ryan. Brunch at a place with outdoor seating and terrible service but excellent pancakes. A walk through the park afterward where we talked about everything and nothing. Childhood pets, bad jobs, the strange way time feels like it speeds up after 30. He didn't ask about the party, didn't probe for drama. At one point, he mentioned an ex-girlfriend in passing, something about how she'd hated hiking but loved posting photos from trails anyway. The comment was casual, uncharged, no bitterness, no unresolved tension. And I realized how rare that felt. With Miles, everything had always been loaded. Every interaction carried the weight of what we weren't saying. With Ryan, I could just be. That night, lying in bed, I understood something I'd been too close to see before. What I'd had with Miles wasn't balance. It was emotional debt. I gave and gave, hoping the return would come later. Ryan gave back in real time. Monday morning, Mark called. "Hey," he said, voice cautious. "We need to talk about Saturday." I leaned against my kitchen counter. "Okay." "Miles is really upset," he said. "He's been texting Hannah nonstop about you, about Ryan." I waited. "Well," I prompted. Mark sighed. "Maybe you could ease up a little. Give him time to adjust." "Adjust to what?" I asked calmly. "Me having a life that doesn't revolve around him?" "That's not fair," Mark said. "You know what I mean." "Then explain it to me," I said. "Because from where I'm standing, he rejected me and expected everything else to stay the same." "He cares about you," Mark said. "He cares about having access to me," I replied. "That's not the same thing." There was a long pause. "You're being harsh," Mark said finally. "Harsh would have been pretending nothing changed," I said. "Harsh would have been letting him think I was okay while slowly resenting him." "So you're just done with the friendship?" Mark asked. I shook my head even though he couldn't see me. "No," I said. "I'm done being the friend who's always available. Group settings? Fine. Occasional texts? Sure. But the constant emotional intimacy? The twice-weekly coffee dates? That's over." "Because he said you weren't girlfriend material," Mark said quietly. "Yes," I said. "So I'm treating him like he's not boyfriend material. Fair is fair." Mark didn't argue after that. "I get it," he said eventually. "I just feel bad for him." "Don't," I said. "He made a choice. Choices have consequences." 2 weeks later, I walked into the coffee shop. Our coffee shop. The one with the scratched booths, and the burnt espresso, and the memories that used to feel like home. Ryan was with me. I'd told him about the place, how it used to be a ritual, how it had once meant something. He smiled. "Then let's make it mean something new." We stepped inside, and there, sitting in our booth like it was a claim, was Miles. He looked up, saw me, saw Ryan, and his face did that thing again. That frozen expression, that sudden realization that the world had kept turning without his permission. Ryan leaned toward me. "Is that him?" I nodded. "You want to leave?" he asked quietly. I looked around the room. At the counter, the windows, the familiar smell of coffee and cinnamon. "No," I said. "I like this place. I'm not giving it up." We ordered drinks and sat at a small table near the window. I could feel Miles watching us the entire time. Ryan talked about a difficult client who wanted personal training results without putting in the work. I joked about wanting abs without doing crunches. He laughed, genuine and unguarded, and I felt something settle in my chest. Peace. After about 20 minutes, Miles stood and walked toward us. "Brooke," he said, "can we talk outside?" I glanced at Ryan. He touched my arm lightly. "It's okay, I'll be right here." I stood. Outside, the air was cool and sharp. Miles walked a few steps away before turning to face me. "Is this really how it's going to be?" he asked. "You dating someone new and acting like our friendship never existed?" "Our friendship exists," I said calmly. "It just looks different now." "Different how?" he demanded. "You don't text, you don't talk, you don't even look at me at group things." "I do," I said, "just not the way I used to." "Why?" he asked, voice cracking. I met his eyes. "Because you made it clear I wasn't a priority to you," I said. "So I stopped making you one." "That's not fair," he said. "No," I replied. "It's equal." His eyes filled with tears. "This hurts," he said. "I didn't know it would hurt this much to lose you." The words landed softly, but firmly. "Then maybe you should have thought about that before rejecting me." His face twisted. "So this is punishment?" "No," I said. "This is me moving on." "You're being cruel," he said. "I'm being honest," I replied. "You said you valued honesty." "Not like this," he whispered. I held his gaze steady. "Then how should I have handled being rejected?" I asked. "Staying around, hoping you'd change your mind? Being available while you dated other people?" He didn't answer. I nodded once. "That's not self-respect," I said. "That's self-destruction." He wiped his eyes. "I care about you," he said. "You care about having me around," I replied. "There's a difference." Silence stretched between us. Finally, I said the words I'd been circling for weeks. "You're not boyfriend material either," I said gently. "You're friend material, the kind I see occasionally, in groups, with boundaries." He flinched. I stepped back. "I'm going inside," I said. "Take care, Miles." And for the first time in a long time, I meant it. I went back inside the coffee shop to Ryan. He looked up the second I walked in, searching my face, not for drama, not for details, just to make sure I was okay. "You good?" he asked quietly. I nodded. "Yeah, I am." He didn't ask what was said. Didn't ask how Miles reacted. Didn't need a debrief like he was reviewing an incident report. He just slid my coffee closer to me, like it was the most natural thing in the world. And in that moment, I realized how much emotional labor I'd been doing for years without noticing. With Miles, every interaction required calibration, tone management, reassurance, preemptive kindness, so he wouldn't pull away or feel uncomfortable. With Ryan, I could exist without editing myself. We finished our drinks and left together, the bell above the door chiming behind us like punctuation. That chapter was done. The next few weeks were quiet. Not in a lonely way, in a settled way. Ryan and I kept seeing each other. Nothing official, no rushed labels, no performative, "where is this going?" conversations that feel more like negotiations than curiosity. We cooked together. We worked out. We talked about work stress, bad bosses, the weird anxiety of aging parents. Once he mentioned his ex-girlfriend again, how she'd moved cities, how the relationship ended because they wanted different things. No bitterness, no unresolved longing. Just fact. And I realized something important. He wasn't trying to convince me he was over her. He already was. That was the difference. Miles didn't text me again after the coffee shop. At first, I noticed the absence the way you notice a sound turning off. The hum you didn't realize was constant until it stops. Then, I stopped noticing at all. Mark told me later, in that careful tone people use when they're trying not to take sides, that Miles had started seeing someone. A woman from work. "They seemed serious," Mark said. "He wanted me to tell you, like, casually." I smiled genuinely. "That's good," I said. "I hope it works out for him." And I meant it. That surprised even me. Because I wasn't angry anymore. Anger needs proximity. I'd moved too far away. 2 months after the party, Hannah asked me something that made me pause. "Do you regret it?" she asked while we were cleaning up after another group hangout, one Miles hadn't attended. "The way you handled things, I mean. Bringing Ryan, cutting Miles off like that." I considered the question carefully. "No," I said. "I regret how long I stayed available when I wasn't being chosen." She frowned. "Some people think you were harsh." "Being kind to someone who rejected me would have been cruel to myself," I replied. "I just stopped bleeding quietly." She didn't argue after that. A week later, I got one final text from Miles. It was short. "Miles, I heard you're seeing someone. I hope you're happy." I stared at the message for a long time. Not because I didn't know how to respond. Because I finally understood that I didn't need to. There was nothing left to clarify. Nothing left to fix. So I didn't reply. Not out of spite. Out of completion. Ryan and I still aren't official. And that's okay. We're taking things slowly, intentionally, like two people who know the difference between excitement and attachment. He introduced me to his friends. I introduced him to mine, except the old game night group, which I attend less now. Not because of Miles, because growth sometimes means choosing different rooms, different energy, different futures. One night, Ryan asked me something while we were sitting on my couch, feet tangled together, a half-watched movie playing in the background. "Can I ask you something?" he said. "Sure." "When you told me about your friend," he said carefully, "you said you were over the hope of being with him. Are you still?" I didn't hesitate. "Yes," I said, "completely." He nodded, satisfied. That's all I needed to know. And I realized this was what mutual respect felt like. No tests, no fear, no waiting around to be chosen. People sometimes ask if I owed Miles a friendship after 2 years. The answer is simple. I don't owe anyone my time, my energy, or my emotional labor, especially after they've made it clear they don't value me the way I value them. Friendship isn't a holding pattern. It's a two-way street. Miles wanted all the benefits without any of the commitment. That's not friendship. That's using someone. The moment I stopped making myself available for breadcrumbs, he realized what he'd lost. That realization wasn't my responsibility to soothe. I chose me. And that wasn't revenge. That was self-respect.